So today's session again, you can pause, have a look what's going on. It's kind of two parts for today. So the first part's kind of structural and a bit of mobility. The second part's kind of a bit of aerobic work or conditioning. So part one, you can take this whichever way you want to. In terms of intent, I'm using this for kind of more of a kind of mobility piece. I'm just trying to, kind of loosen out the joints a little bit. I'm feeling a bit stiff this morning, so I'm not going to go into this with any kind of really high intensity. My intent here is to get the body moving and just kind of, you guys nourish the body a little bit, so without punishing myself today. So the windshield wipers, we can go weighted, or again you can go unweighted, just depending on where you're at the minute. You can even take the first round unweighted and start bringing a bit of weight then as well. But again, as always, this one we're not rushing through the movements, we're taking our time, and we're just letting the hips open up, so we're not really kind of creating any tension through the knees or the inside of the knee here either. So just taking our time, side to side. I'm going to go 8 each side. When that's done, then we're going to go into the lateral lunge next. And again, weighted or unweighted, just go by where you're at today on this one. So what I'm doing here again is just sort of landing on that foot that I'm stepping with. So I'm landing on all of the sole of the foot as opposed to just my heel or just my toes. I'm trying to sink into it to get a bit more stretch on the trailing adductor or the trailing leg as well. So the windshield wipers, I'm going to go for 10 on each side. Again, I've talked about the issues with my right leg on this one before, tending to bend a bit too much. I'm trying to be a little bit more aware of it here. I think I probably became more aware of it as I kind of, probably after this repetition, I think it was 4 or 5 reps in, I kind of actively thinking about it. But again, just trying to create awareness around our bodies at the minute here and, kind of, I guess, increase our own understanding around that, and even with these movements, balances between left and right side. So again, with this one, it's 10 repetitions on each side, and then I'm going to just shake out the arms, and I'm going to move on then to the marches, and I'm going to do some overhead marches here. These ones are actually quite tricky. They look like there's a lot more going on, I guess, than what you can see here. There is a bit of movement here laterally side to side, and I'm trying to minimize that as much as possible. So I find really it's when I'm trying to, switch feet. So as one foot lands and just before the other foot comes off the floor, really, really trying there to keep my glutes active and stop kind of as much of that side to side movement as possible. Again, I want to keep this kind of fairly slow, so we're trying to engage balance and stability with each repetition, that we're not just blasting through it as fast as we can. With the overhead position, we can go kind of goblet position instead. Again, just work with where you're comfortable on this one, and really try and keep your midline engaged. When that's done, we're going to move on to the prying kettlebell curls. So it's kind of like a hip stretch here, and also it's a few sneaky bicep curls in there too as well. So depending on your at, I think I'm doing 12 repetitions here. Trying to keep my glutes active here too. I find if I just relax or sag too much here, it actually kind of can aggravate my back a little bit. So I'm trying to keep everything engaged here. I'm not just kind of collapsing into a dog poop squat position or anything. I'm just trying to work on, again, core and stability and just focusing on muscles. I'm not just kind of going into autopilot here. When that's done then, we're just going to get a hip flexor stretch. About 20 seconds each side will do. So the hip flexor stretch, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to keep my hip and my shoulder over that back leg or back knee. I don't want to be kind of like doing a bow and arrow or really shoot my hips forward here. So I'm trying to keep alignment here. I'm trying to squeeze through that glute to pin down the hips a little bit and really stretch through the front of the hips. So about 20 seconds each side here. I'm going to do 3 rounds of this little kind of block. And again, it's just more just to get the body moving, get our core working a little bit. I'm not really hunting any kind of serious degree of intensity here today. So it's just kind of, I'm treating it more as a structural kind of session, recovery session almost. And then we're going to come into a little aerobic block. So we're going to do 4 rounds here. I'm going to do 30 seconds of goblet thrusters. So again, steady pace. So I'm talking about kind of, trying to keep it aerobic, try to be sustainable. I was getting about 14 repetitions per 30 seconds here, so I wanted to try and maintain that for the 4 rounds. So to save everybody from boredom, I just kind of filmed the middle 2 rounds here. I hadn't done an awful lot of goblet thrusters before, so I was probably getting my timing slightly better as I went through it. Still needs a little bit of work, but again, with the aerobic nature, trying to keep things consistent, even in terms of repetitions, or every repetition should look pretty similar. So a little break, 30 seconds, just enough to get the recovery back, the heart rate down a little bit. And then I'm going to go into topside half moons next. So just a little bit of rotation and core work. So with these ones, I'm really trying to use the hip extension to get the weight moving. So pop from the hips and then bring the weight. The arms just kind of guide the kettlebell over and around the shoulders pretty much here. So I'm not trying to do like a front raise or drag the weight off my hips. Also as well here when I land, I'm kind of landing my forearm on my thigh. I'm not landing the kettlebell on my thigh. Remember people back in the day would be kind of coming into me a day later after doing these and their thighs would be bruised completely. And again, you know, what you expect is going to happen when you slam a kettlebell off your thigh. So yeah, just avoid, kind of go from pocket to pocket if you can. And the third piece is just a front leaning rest. So basically plank with our arms extended. So plank on the hands, top of a push up, I guess. So with the front leaning rest, what I want to try and do is I'm trying to kind of be on my tippy toes here, squeezing my glutes, trying to bring my legs together. So I could probably be a little more flat through my shoulders, I guess, here, but again, just trying to tuck the hips under and really brace through your midline, pulling the belly button in towards your spine. And we're going to go for 30 seconds here. When that's done, there are 3 movements, and then we're going to take 30 seconds off. We're going to go back to the goblet thruster. And again, everything should be fairly consistent for all of this. So back to the thruster, and at this stage, I know I'm getting about 14 repetitions per round, so I'm just trying to maintain that. It's a good way of just pacing myself. And even as I'm getting to the last round of this too, I don't want to do like a burst or a sprint to the finish line. Just keep it steady. So we're just jogging at home as opposed to just like sprinting as hard as we can, just because it's the last round. So again, consistency is key. Patience and discipline as well here. That we're not trying to get carried away. Again, because it's the last round, just keep the pace, keep the rhythm consistent. Again, with the weight here, I was probably getting more fatigue, muscular fatigue from the half moons than anything else. So I'm really just trying to use the legs to pop the weight up and over. I used to be more kind of strict on knee tracking here in the past, but just looking at sports specific movements over the years and the chaos of actual field sports, that knee tracking always isn't a possibility or perfect knee tracking. So there's an element of you know anti fragility. I'm kind of big on that word at the moment, but certainly on kind of real life movements in terms of not everything's going to be perfect. And we're probably to some extent we're probably just creating a bit of an insurance policy here too. We're not really loading up the knees excessively, and I guess encouraging poor movement. So again, just keep your core active and strong and initiate the movement through the hips. And then again, it's just back to our plank, just being honest with yourself on this one and really trying to engage your core. We're not just hanging out here, but we're actually doing a bit of work here as well. So there's the middle 2 rounds, but we're going to go for 4 rounds on this one today, and that's the second block or the second part of this workout.